Hi everyone and welcome to our video for our Trifold shutter card. Obviously, I am using our Joie Noël Christmas collection in order to create this. And this is a beautiful collection. You will love all the options in here. This is what I chose as my cardstock. This is going to be the base layer for the card because I think it turned out just beautifully. And I wanted to share that with you. So you don't have, if you want to use just black cardstock, obviously that's up to you. You choose how you want to make the card. But I love this, and I printed it double-sided, which we talked about in the last video. So basically you feed it through your printer, then you take it, you flip it, so that way when you feed it through the second time and you print it again, it prints on the back. So that way, like I said before, when you're using regular just plain cardstock, obviously it's colored on both sides, and we want that same availability for this. So with this paper, I've then paired it up with this pink one, which you can see how beautiful it is. And then with that stationery paper from the kit, all just amazing papers. And you can see how well, I'll just move this down a little bit. You can see how well they coordinate together. And obviously, if you're here to create this and wanting to follow the tutorial, you saw it in the beginning page as the finished product, and you loved it as much as we did. So here it is. Now, with these papers, the biggest thing that you have to remember is when you print these out, print them out in landscape mode. Normally a printer prints in portrait, which is this way. So we have the 8.5 by 11, but we want to print it the landscape mode. So it is 11 by 8.5. Obviously our patterns are all this way, and that's the way the card goes. So you want it printed in that format. So let's get to it. So our first piece of paper, we're going to call it our base pattern paper or base cardstock. So this piece is 10.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. So easy enough to do. And like I said before, I have printed it double-sided. So that way when the finished card is done, it actually has a nice finished look all the way around. Now, in order to get the cuts in here and the areas in here so that it will have its shutter fold, what we're going to do is we are going to measure from this top here, we are going to measure in 1.25 inches, and we are going to go and start at 1.75 inches here and go to 8.75 inches here. Okay, all the time being 1.25 inches from the end, and we're going to do that both on this side as well as on this side. And that, like I said, is having the 5.5 inches kind of at the top if you want. Now, I'm going to use an X-Acto knife in order to do this. You certainly can use your paper cutter in order to make these measurements and marks and scores. There's many ways of doing this, but as not everybody has a paper cutter or the same paper cutter or everything else, I thought I would do it for a lack of a better word, manually, in order to get this done for you. So let me go do that. Okay, cutting is now done. I will just kind of use my ruler here so you can see how that has now been cut from 1.75 inches to 8.75 inches on both top and bottom. Okay, and now we want to score in order to make the folds work properly. And what we're going to do is we're going to score at 1.75 inches, or basically the ends of the cut. Okay, and we're only going to score in that area. We're not going to go through the whole card, just between the two cuts. Okay, then at 3, and here's the folded card. So let me fold it flat again so that you can see. So when we fold it up, I'm going to go to the top here. Okay, so you can see how those fold. The first fold, let's say, folds in, right? Whereas the top card folds out. Let's talk about the center, right, versus the outer. So your center, your first fold goes in, your card, then it goes out. The center goes out all the way and then goes back in. So when you fold it up, I'll just go slowly here. There it is, all folded right back up. Okay, so there is the base for the trifold card. Okay, so the next piece, which we are going to call, this piece, I'll call this our middle cardstock piece. And this is a pink paper from the FQB. It's the diamond pattern paper. And this piece measures 5 1/4 by 10 1/4. So each of these 3 papers, there's our back one, there's our middle one, this is going to be our foreground. Each one is 1/4 of an inch different on each measurement. So 5 1/2 by 10 1/2, 5 1/4 by 10 1/4, 5 by 10. Okay, make sense? So let's go ahead and take this piece of paper now, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to need to cut some things up so that that way it fits on this piece of paper here on our back. So what we're going to do here is, again, we're going to flip it like this, okay? This time we are going to measure in 1 inch from each side, okay? And we are going to cut from 1.5 inches, okay, to 8 3/4, okay? And we're going to do that on both sides. And then we are going to cut from 1 inch in to 4 1/2 to cut out the score lines, okay? So basically what we're doing is we are cutting out the center portion here. And that is the measurements that we're going to use here. And obviously you see those going across the top of the screen. So let me go ahead and do that. So here's what you end up with. Once you have cut out your center, we are now going to go ahead and measure 3 1/4 inches, cut it, measure another 3 1/4 inches, cut it, and then for the last piece, we're actually going to take that last piece, flip it around, and measure 3 1/4 inches and cut it. So that way we have 3 3 1/4 inch pieces. We want to make sure that we have equal amounts on both sides. There's a little hair that gets cut out in there. So let me go ahead and do that and bring those pieces to you. So this is exactly what you end up with once you're finished. And like I said before, you had to spin this last one, turn it around, and make sure you measured from the outside in 3 1/4 inches. So that way you have, these two pieces are identical, because you end up cutting off about 3/4 of an inch on the end of each of these things. Now, what's going to happen to these? Well, these obviously are the pieces that go on here, right? That is how they're going to get glued on. Now, let's just move this stuff out of the way for a second and go to our final piece, which is this one here, okay? And the same thing is going to happen. We are going to cut up this piece in the same fashion. So we're going to cut out the inside. And how you get to here is you measure up 3/4 of an inch from both top and bottom, okay? Then we go from 1 1/4 inches to 8 1/2 inches. So a little bit smaller, obviously smaller piece of paper, right? We want to do that. Then connect up the ends to cut out the center, okay? And then we cut these ones to 3 inches. 3 inches, 3 inches. Again, flip the card, measure 3 inches from this side, and cut that. So let me go ahead and do that. So just in case you wanted to see what this one looked like finished, obviously I think it's pretty obvious here, but obviously there is the 3-inch piece, top and bottom, the 3-inch we measured in from the outside. So each of these sections is 3 inches. And now these ones are going to get put onto here, layered onto our mid cardstock, right? And then the entire thing will get layered onto our base cardstock. So let me go ahead and do that, and that I'll come back with the finished item. So here it is all glued up. This is what I'll call the preliminary view, because obviously this it isn't embellished just yet. But I wanted to show you that so that way you get the idea of everything going together here. I wanted you to see, okay, this is obviously all embellished, or all the paper is now put on there. That's what you start with before you start embellishing. And like I said before, I wanted to show you that, and so that way you could see what it looks like before embellishing. So when I am going to embellish, you are going to see these ones go on. So obviously this is the same, that pink diamond pattern, which will go in the center along with my sentiment card. We've talked about using the sentiment cards in the last video, but in case you missed it, the sentiment cards are something Mary Fran creates in every kit. And these journal cards are not only for mini albums and scrapbook albums. They are ideal for cards. They have lined areas in here. If you can't see that actually there is faint lines in there. So your writing becomes, it's very easy to write in there your personalized sentiment and keep things, your printing straight and everything else. As well, they are really well designed. It is already kind of done for you. I am actually going to take a little heart from the kit that I've printed out, and I'm going to put it up on some foam dots just because I think, it looks nice, just to further embellish it. Then that's where the personalization comes in. But these are fantastic items, and don't miss out on using the journal cards in the kits. The other two embellishments that I'm going to use is on the front. I am going to, let's just fold this all up here. So I am going to have a nice floral cluster that I'm going to, again, put up on foam dots. And as well, I have a greeting in here that I'm going to slide underneath so that we have that. And across the back edge here, I do have this. And you know what? Now that I see how things are folding up here, obviously you can see how this isn't going to really work out for me. So again, happy accident when you're making cards. This is why I actually had the Eiffel Tower in this paper, is I wasn't sure if this was going to work as an embellishment. I originally thought about putting that in there, but obviously that's not going to work because when it folds up, it's going to mash that. So not the best idea that I had there. And lastly is, you can see across the top, I did actually put in that top pattern paper, but I do have a Christmas wish that I want to put in there, which is actually pretty much going to cover that paper up. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. It does match in case you wanted to do something else or whatever the case may be. Those are the items that are there. So again, sizing, this Christmas Joy, I sized to 3 inches long and 3/4 of an inch wide. Well, I could have made it a little bit smaller and then it would have embellished on top of that. There's just one key element that, don't follow my measurements on this particular item. But like I said to you, on these items here, the centerpiece, this is going to be 2 3/4 inches by 3 1/4. So that's our mid cardstock. And then our patterned one that goes on top is 2 1/2 inches tall by 3 inches wide. So when that goes together like that and gets glued onto the center, that is going to be our center sentiment. So I hope that you've liked and tuned in, enjoyed watching this video. Obviously, you saw the finished product in the beginning, so I don't need to go through that for you. But I hope that you'll give us a thumbs up. And give me a thumbs up for not having you to watch me glue it all together, right? I really don't like that in videos either. So I tried to eliminate that part. I hope that didn't confuse you in any way. But let us know if you like this card, if you're going to make one this Christmas for yourself. And also, subscribe to our channel to make sure you're made aware every time a new video comes out. Lastly, if you do decide to make this card or any other card, please feel free to join our Knitwit Collections Neighborhood Facebook group. It is a great place to learn, to share, ask questions if you have them. There's lots of inspiration there, and it's a great friendly atmosphere. So please feel free to join in. Thanks once again, and I hope you enjoy making this Trifold shutter card this Christmas.